Happy Thursday. How is it going? How are you guys doing? It's almost Halloween. Happy Halloween. Happy Thursday. Basha, Brian, how's it going? Nice to see you guys in the chat, because today we're going to be talking about some fun stuff. Not really. Today we're going to be talking about specific this. This is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about freelancer anxiety. And I want to be very clear. This isn't an easy topic for me to talk about. This isn't something that I talk about too often with too many people. It's one of those cases where I remember hearing the saying, and I can't remember who said it, but I remember hearing the saying that be careful who you share your frustrations with, because it's like bleeding in front of a shark. So you need to be very careful what you say to which people in which location. So definitely when you have moments of wanting to vent and wanting to air any kind of grievances and stuff like that, always do it knowingly in a safe place. Do it in a place where you're comfortable and you know the people that are actually listening to you. But what we're going to be talking about today is the anxiety that comes with freelancing, working for yourself, having to deal with everything that goes along with it, because there's plenty of types of anxiety. And definitely earlier this month on October 10th was National or World Mental Health Day, but it's Mental Health Month as well. So it did get me thinking, and I wanted to do it a little bit earlier, but I decided to save it. I decided to save it for today and kind of all encompass it, because a few conversations have come up recently, and and I want to talk about the fact that anxiety is prevalent, and it is in any industry, and it comes in different shapes and forms, and there's different outlets, and there's different ways to manage it and to talk about it and to deal with it, right? But before we get started, I just want to say hello to Roger Avars. Hello, how are you guys doing? Roger, wanted to wish you a happy Thursday, both of you guys. And let me know how, as this live stream goes on, let me know what things make you a little bit anxious. You don't have to get into too much detail, but just like when it comes to working for your for yourself, what is the thing that makes you most anxious? So I'm gonna kind of jump right into it, and I'm gonna talk about YouTube is a safe space. No one's watching, right? No one's gonna be listening to this. Jared, hello, happy Thursday to you as well. But yeah, so I remember like there's I don't consider myself an anxious person, but the more I kind of thought about it, the more I wasn't recognizing it in my own self, that how anxious I actually was for a lot of different things. And freelancing is so riddled with anxiety opportunities that it's a interesting place. So in freelancing specifically, the biggest anxiety that comes from majority of people that I've spoken to is money related. So it's either they don't know when they'll get paid, they don't know if the payment will come on time, they don't know if they'll be able to get the price that they feel this project is worth. They don't know if the money will last long enough. They don't know if the money will continue coming after that project. They don't know where their next project is coming from. And it just goes on and on and on. And I just want to say, I've been doing this for 17, probably longer. Freelancing for myself since 2003. So we're at the 18-year mark at this point. And right from the beginning, like when I went on my own, I had little savings, but I didn't have huge responsibilities when I started. So there was always that anxiety of like, okay, where's that next paycheck going to come from? Where's that next job going to come from? And finding that. But beside that, like when you do find that next job, you have that, or at least I did, the anxiety. Let me know if you guys relate to any of the stuff that I'm saying. If you guys if any of this stuff resonates with you. As soon as I would get a job, I'd have this anxiety about performing well on the job, to living up to the bar that I set, delivering on the promises that were part of that project. And then, having to work in a team and feeling like you have to live up to that imposter syndrome, where it's like, you've set yourself like, this is what they think I am, and you better live up to it. So you have this stuff, and you don't try to communicate that to the team. You don't try to talk about that, because you always want to come in confidently, but that doesn't mean that the anxiety goes away. Like when you walk into something confidently, it's just knowing that it's going to work out. Like you have to have that belief and push through that anxiety. So twofold. twofold when it comes to freelancing and the pressures that come from it. Because so many times I got into the place where it's like, I know I need to buy a new, name it, computer, camera, piece of gear, software, but at the same time, I don't want to spend any money on any of those things because I want to hold on to the money. So you're always in this in-between place where you're being literally pulled apart, where it's like, I need to buy that. Don't buy it. I need to buy. And you're always doing this kind of like, because you don't know when that next big paycheck is going to come. You don't know when that next big opportunity is going to arise. But here's the thing, after 18 years of going through that constantly, like every new project, like every time I get onto a phone call with a potential new client, I always have this, always play through these scenarios in my head. It's like, okay, do I sound confident? Do I come across like I know what I'm talking about? Do I actually know what I'm talking about? Will they perceive me as knowing what I talk about? And then like, it's not that I care so much. I don't value what they think of me more than how I see myself after the call, because then I would have this post anxiety after a call saying, did I come across properly? Do I actually know what I'm talking about? And it's just this weird mind play that constantly felt like it was never ending. And I always had this thought, especially early on, because I kind of realized that I had this kind of anxiety well back into my childhood, like where I always wanted to do better than I was doing. I always assumed that I would be doing better, or I would know how to do it easier. But after 18 years of doing freelancing, I've come to the realization, and I came to it long before, but I'm here to tell you, if you're just getting started on that path, that like if you're early in that path, the first few years, that feeling may never go away. You just learn how to kind of mitigate it and push through it and know that it's actually going to work out. Know that if you don't understand something, it's okay to ask questions. And the more questions you ask, the more communication you do, the better it actually works out. I've gotten to the point where I'm very confident in what my abilities are and what I can do, that doing those things I find very, very simple, like just in terms of how to do it. And I always want to push to do a little bit better. And so it's almost self-imposed anxiousness that I add on to myself. So Brian is saying that he is new to this business, so that is one thing that makes me anxious. Yes, being new to something is, there's always that pressure right at the beginning to perform, to present yourself as an expert in the field, that people should be hiring you, that you deserve to win that gig, to get to that point. And I remember early on trying to prove myself, and ultimately it really doesn't matter trying to prove yourself, because you just have to focus on that one thing that you're actually working on at that moment. And if there isn't something that's clear about it, or if you don't know something, there's plenty of people that you can ask that, again, do it in a safe place, do it with people that you know, and ask questions. I remember that there were things that I didn't understand how to do properly. I would ask people that I knew, or I would find people and ask them directly. And that was hard, to reach out to other people and be like, how do I do this? How can I do this? Because I know early on I would bite off way more than I could chew, because I wanted to prove myself that yes, I can play at that level, only to find out that like maybe I should have, scaled back what I was promising. And it definitely fell in line where I know that I wanted to compete with these bigger projects, but I didn't know how to bill for it properly, and I didn't know how to schedule it properly. I didn't know how to build a team to do those kind of things. I got into this place where I got frustrated working in teams. So I was like, I'm just going to go alone. I'm going to learn how to do this on my own, which had its benefits, but its huge drawbacks at the same time. Instead of being okay and saying, I don't know how to do that, I'm going to hire this person who is fantastic at that. And understanding how to build a team, to build a project, and to make an entire thing come to life. I can't remember who said it. Who said it recently? It was everything's about collaboration. It was Mark Bone who actually talked about like everything that you see, everything that you probably have around you on your desk right now comes from a collaboration of sorts. Nothing was built in a silo by itself. Anything that's worth its weight in anything, like how many people do you think actually went into building an iPhone, which on its surface is simplistic to use, but complicated. And like hundreds of people probably went into making something like that. Like even all the gear that you guys use, that we all use, the support gear for our cameras and whatnot. This is a team of people. Someone that would engineer it, someone that would actually build it, someone that would craft it, someone that would test it and break it, test it again, someone that would do all the lawyering, all the marketing around it. Like all that comes down to many, many people. So if you ever feel like you need to go it alone, just know if you want to build something better, I think he quoted a proverb that said, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So I think that's where one of the best ways to understand and deal with the way I did it with my own anxiety is being okay to reach out to people when I needed help with either projects or with just any kind of thing that I was thinking about. And money, that feeling has never gone away, because when I started, I was making X amount of dollars. And then if you do inflation plus all my responsibilities, buying a house, doing all these things, the amount of money that I needed to start earning to keep up with the life that I was living also had to go. So it's almost like the moment I started making a little bit more money, I was able to buy this thing, but then my anxiety just, it's always been a plateau around here, at a high level, but I know that it will work out because there's so many comments and courses and people saying that once you learn how to do something, once you learn a skill, once you learn how to make money, how to do something, how to do the business part of it, especially if someone took away everything that person had, they would be able to rebuild faster from scratch. Actually, a lot of people said that it would be liberating for them to start over without because all the stuff that they know now. So I'm gonna check in. So Jared is saying most anxiety is more jobs coming in, need consistent jobs coming. Well, here's the thing. The whole saying is when it rains and pours, especially in this industry, in the freelance industry, in the creative freelance industry, where there are so many opportunities for work that can come in. And that's why understanding how to build properly and how to invoice properly, how to schedule a project, and how to put the right amount of profit in, and understanding that and being confident to do that, that's where not having to jam one project into the next and you're rolling into the next one as the last one's finishing. Because when you're working on a big project, you need to have a little bit of a breather, ideally, between projects, where you can kind of refocus, reset, re-energize, so you can go full force on the next one, instead of having the pressure of trying to finish one as the next one is already ramping up. And the whole goal, the entire thing that I've learned from the last 15, 20 years is work less, make more money. That should be the goal of a freelancer. There's only about 180 days where you can actually work realistically. And I would say that's kind of the cap. 200 would be the cap a year. 200 days would be the most a full busy freelancer would be able to do. So being realistic, 150 days is probably what a freelancer is able to do. So you need to be able to bill accordingly to cover 6 months of work covers 12 months of living. Like that's really what it comes down to. And if you can do that, if you can get to that point where instead of taking smaller jobs that pay just enough, then that anxiety can go away. Because I know that once I'm able to stack in a little bit of cash, the anxiety definitely goes down. Like in January 2020, I would probably say that I was in the best place financially. Everything was kind of settled. Everything was good. We had our emergency fund and our opportunity fund was stacked. We had a great foresight going into 2020. Well, plans changed and that didn't work out the way it did. Everybody kind of fell into that whole, the world stops at this point. So the savings started to go down. The opportunity fund kind of went down. We're tapping into emergency funds because work just stopped. So for me, definitely one of the best ways to mitigate the anxiety for the financial side on the freelancing is to make sure that you do have that emergency fund and you're tapping into it and you're putting as much as you can into it. Because once you have the emergency fund, which is $2,000 to $5,000 ideally, that would be one of those things where it's like, you can tap into that if something pops up and you can take care of it. But just know that if you do have an emergency that comes up, and no, buying a new MacBook Pro, I'm talking to myself at this point, buying a new MacBook Pro from the emergency fund is not sound financial advice. It would only add to my anxiety. So, hello, Jasim, hello. So yeah, trust yourself that it will work out. I don't know if trusting yourself, I just trust that it will work out. Because trusting yourself, that's again, relying on yourself, but knowing that it does work out. And I've had that feeling so many times. So hold on, I just finished reading that quote, the comment. The nervousness and the anxiousness, while not always healthy, is just a sign that you're breaking out of your comfort zone for growth. Yeah. So I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how it comes about, but there is once you start getting into that rhythm and the anxiousness kind of piles up, because sometimes clients take longer to pay. Sometimes they pay, in installments and whatnot. But I've always had this feeling that, especially in the last 10 years, I would say, where I just know it's going to work out. I know I can send the follow-up emails. I know how to communicate to clients to say this needs to happen. I know how to lean onto clients to make sure that they pay in proper time. And I've even gotten to the point where it's like I even know how to ask for money up front as a project is getting started and asking for it in confidence. Because there's one thing where you have a discovery meeting and everyone is on board for the project, and then the moment you bring up a money and a deposit and whatnot, if there's any hesitancy from the client, the first follow-up question I would ask is like, is the budget approved for this project? And they only have one of two answers, yes or no. And if it's yes, then there should be no problem to make the payment. So I just asked, okay, great. So as soon as the first installment is paid, I'll be able to start on it. And if the answer is no, then I say, great, let me know when it's approved. So then we can do that first installment and I'll begin working on it. So the outcome is still the same. Money comes in, work begins, right? And if the client pushes back at those points, I push back. I kind of pull back and say, it's like, I can't start this project, and I just keep reiterating that. And 90% of the time, the client's like, okay, fine, we'll get accounting. It's just, for some reason, I don't know why some clients, I'm not saying all, but why some clients find it completely okay to do that. And you have to teach the clients how to respect you, essentially, because you value your time, you value your ability to do the work, and you have to communicate that to them. You can't value that their project is more important than your needs, right? So if there's a discovery meeting and you're trying to figure out what the whole project is and what you can do for them, then that's fine. But the moment you start adding value to them, then there should be a price for that. They should be paying you for the value that you're adding to them. And once you get that mindset in, that's one of the biggest things that actually comes into play into reducing the stress that I feel when starting a new project. I know that if these markers are hit and the client is sending the invoice and I'm starting the project, I feel confident that we're going to follow through. It's when those red flags come up and it's just, okay, I know how to deal with that. And because before I would start on a project before it got full sign off, before the invoice came in, the first deposit, and that just adds to that stress, because then you're adding the stress to yourself where you have to then, poke and prod them for that. And because you've already started, it's kind of hard to stop right in the middle of it, because then you look like the jackass, essentially. But if you start right from the beginning and they're pushing back, it's on them. It's 100% on them to follow through on it. If they say, oh, the budget or the money will come in 30 days, I'm like, well, then we'll start it in 30 days. And they don't like hearing that kind of stuff. They don't like the assertiveness that I have sometimes, where it's just like, that's fantastic. If that's your timeline, then we'll push back everything when we get that first invoice in. And it's okay to lose clients. It's okay to fire clients. It's okay to do that, because ultimately it comes down to your time, and there's plenty of people that will take advantage of you, and that just adds to that anxiety, to that stress, and you don't want to be there. So like, get rid of that kind of stuff now, especially if you're early on. Negotiate a fair price, and then negotiate the deliverables that are according to that price. So the saying is, negotiate the deliverables, not the price. So if a client asks, like, okay, we need this, this, and this, you dictate the price of those deliverables based on what you're charging for that. And if they come to you and they say, we have a $15,000 budget, then you tell them, okay, then this is what can be delivered for that. So you negotiate what the deliverables are based on the money. Never negotiate the money. So if they come to you and they say they have a $15,000 budget, but they need all this kind of stuff, but then you look at that and that's like $40,000 worth of stuff that you need to do, just be like, well, for that, I can deliver this, right? And then, the clients will they will always try to save on the budget and save and, get it for as low as possible. And they'll throw things out like, well, this, your competitor will do it for less. And then I've had conversations where I've told, clients have told me that, like potential clients, they're like, your competitor, this company that does the same thing is willing to do it for this. I'm like, that's a great price. You should hire them and send me their contact info, because I'll hire them too if they're doing it for that price. Like, it makes no sense for me to try to compete on a budgetary level if someone else is going to do it for half the price that I could do it for. I'm like, wow, what efficiencies, what secrets do they have that I don't know? But like, I'll hire them, and then I'll charge more and just let them do all the work. But like so many times, the client is just using that as a tactic to try to get you to lower your price. So never negotiate price, always negotiate the deliverables. Like once you know what the price is, and that's why I did the whole freelancer day rate spreadsheet where I go through on you, it helps you figure out what you need to be charging per day for every day that you work based on that 150 to 180 day a year work volume. Then you know if you're making your bare minimum. And when I say day rate, I don't mean like that's the day rate you tell people. That's like the bottom, like it's not the ceiling, right? Not the max that you should be charging. Like that's the minimum you should be charging based on what you need to make it through the year, so you have a net positive year. Yes, the one skill, I guess that was from a previous. What were we talking about? I want to know. Anyways, you're making me anxious, Brian. No, I'm just kidding. Um, I like saying the difference between the successful person and others is how fast they get back up after a fall. Yes, that is the thing. Freelancing, you need to be you need to you need to be mentally strong when it comes to it. It doesn't. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be like, okay, that didn't work out the way I wanted it, or that cost more than it should have. I should have charged more. And you learn as you go, and you can reach out to other people and ask them like, how much would you charge for this? Again, like people that you trust, people that you know will give you a honest, straight answer. And just because, and just because, and just because you have and just because they charge that doesn't mean that that's what you should be charging. Definitely charge accordingly and to what the market or your location is willing to charge for that kind of service. Like if you're a one man band but you're trying to charge like a company would, know that you don't have the same overhead of a full rental building. Know that you don't have those kind of overheads, but also you do have computers, you do have cameras you need to rent out. You do have to manage all the people if you're renting stuff or you're prepping stuff. So it has to be a combination of, the lowest price that the client wants and the maximum price that you're able to charge for that. And be okay with taking a profit on the work that you do. Like there is plenty of work that is out there that's available, and you do have to work for it. You do have to prove yourself. But again, if the project is bigger than you know you're capable of, then make sure you budget in hiring the people that will help you do that, because it will actually bring down that anxiety than trying to do it all yourself. Like a lot of the work that I do right now, I work with a huge team of very talented people that are way more talented than I am at the things that they do. But the thing that I do is really good, and I compliment the entire team doing the things that I do. So it's about finding that collective, and just like Mark Bone said, that when you collaborate with people, you'll be able to create bigger, better projects than you would be able to completely flesh out on your own. Because if you can complement yourself with other skills that you're not necessarily the best at, but that help you create that thing, that's when the fun comes in. That's when the enjoyment of creating comes in. So emergency fund is great. Multiple revenue streams, even better. Multiple freelance customers working fine as well to be calm and happy. Yeah. The ultimate goal. So 20 years in, the ultimate goal, where you want to get to, is you want to have 5 repeat clients. 5 clients that come back to you year in year, year over year. 5 clients that will feed you enough work that will cover 80% of your needed income for the year. And then you can have other clients that can bring in that extra 20. Like they could be projects for friends, for smaller companies or local companies or charities or those kind of things. But it's about getting to a point where you have 5 main clients that will feed you the majority of work. Because once you get into that rhythm, once you find that, and it takes time, but if you can get there, that could be a that income that you're looking for. And then on top of that, building out the multiple streams of income and putting your money into investments and doing and understanding what to do with the money once you get it. So the other big, so money is definitely an anxiety stress point for me. The other one is, finding those other clients, those supplemental clients, because I've had my 5 clients, 5+ clients for quite some time, but every year there's a potential for one of those clients not to come back because their business has either changed, or their budgets have changed, or they've gone out of business, or they just retired. So you do have to always have that toe in the water for new potential work. And so the other place that I know I get freelancer anxieties are introducing myself to many new people as possible, because you don't know when you meet someone today what that could actually lead to down the road. Like, how many of you meet someone and instantly know you're going to work with them, or they're going to be your best friend? Like that rarely happens, where you get to the point where you know that someone is going to be your best friend from the first time that you meet them. It may happen once or twice, but there's so many times where I've met people just in passing, just kind of briefly chat with them through an associate, through a friend. And then 3 years later, I get a phone call from that person saying that they have an opportunity for me. They want to work. They want to do something that they feel I'm a right fit for. And they actually reached out to that mutual friend. And that's partly why I did start this YouTube channel and my main channel, where I wanted to get more comfortable talking freely. I wanted to get more comfortable chatting and introducing myself to many, many new people, like Bailey here. Happy Friday. Is it Friday for you now? I think it's Friday for you. Yeah. I am doing well. Happy Friday to you. Mr. Down Under, just waking up. Oh, it must be early for you. But yeah, it does come down to try to introduce yourself to as many people as you can. Because I know that I had anxiety. Just I'm an introvert at heart, but I force myself to be an extrovert. I think it's an ambivert, where the actual name for it, where it's like I like being quiet. I like not being in loud, ruckus places. I'm not a social butterfly. I wasn't the one going to the parties. I was the one, if I did, I would be the wallflower. That's just where I'm more comfortable. I'm more comfortable having my earphones on, rocking out to music. I was a drummer. I like to be behind something and hiding. So definitely doing this, there was a lot of anxiety putting myself in front of the camera, because I lived behind the camera. We're in the shadows and wearing all black, and I didn't want to be on camera. But I knew that introducing myself to the world at large, to expanding that network, to saying hello to the world, and starting conversations with people that, like you guys, I would have never met you guys if I hadn't done these videos. If I hadn't put myself kind of out there and made these videos saying, hey, I like doing this stuff. Do you guys like this stuff? That's where it comes down to. And I try to introduce myself to as many people as I can, as often as I can. When I go onto set, I try to strike up conversations with people and find out what they're all about, what they're interested in, what what makes them tick. I don't necessarily go out and talk about myself too much. I want to talk about topics. I like to find a commonality and talk about that. That's why the channel is what it is, because these are the things I love chatting about, and it's the thing I can't shut up about. And I know that there's other people that are just as interested in it. So that's the freelance anxiety portion of all of this, where there's always going to be the financial anxiety that comes with it when you're in the freelance world, because there will be clients that will refuse to not play. There will be clients that will refuse to pay. There will be clients that will just ghost when the project is delivered, and they may not pay up that last 30% or 40% or whatever you guys negotiated. There will be times where you'll probably start on a project without a contract in place and be like, ooh, maybe I should have had a contract, because not having that, a lot of people will learn that lesson. I learned that lesson. Start working on something and not knowing the people that were on the other end of that project, and they kind of just ghost you. And then you're kind of, especially if it's a bigger one, it's a bigger project where you're left holding the bag, having to pay all the freelancers because you hired them and you're the one responsible for that. And so I think that's partly why I never got into the commercial space, because so many agencies demanded, or almost it was required, because it was such an opportunity to work with them, to have to front a full commercial. Like, they would want someone to front $300,000, pay for it all, and then they'll pay you later, which it doesn't make any sense, because that's how a lot of VFX companies kind of went under. That's how a lot of production companies went under, because they did that. They fronted all the money, and then all of a sudden they didn't get paid, or it was more expensive than they thought it was, than the price that they negotiated, or the client just kept, kind of put them through change as hell. And so I never wanted to be in that position where I would be fronting a project of that magnitude. I didn't want to be mortgaging my house. I didn't want to be put in a position where I have to pay for this huge project that is coming from a company that is, tens of millions of dollars, but they didn't have money to put up for. Well, maybe it wasn't the companies, maybe it was the agencies. But yeah, I never understood that. Never understood that workflow, and then getting paid 90 days after. Like, that was a huge shock, where agencies and companies would do it that way, where they wouldn't pay you until the whole project was signed, sealed, delivered, and already on air. And then you can invoice, and then you can wait 90 days for the privilege to get paid for the work that you already did. So just make sure you guys don't fall into those kind of traps, where people that promise to pay you later without having any money up front. 6 a.m. Friday, yep, but worth it. Thank you. Yeah, it's a conversation that I have a lot offline with a lot of creatives, where the anxiety for, like, even for creating for YouTube, there's this anxiety, this push. And I think that's partly why I avoid trying to do too many product reviews or whatnot, and the brand deals, because I don't want to be on anyone else's schedule. And I think that's why I like having that ethics statement, that if someone agrees to it, it's like, it's my terms, or I'm not even going to bother, because I don't want to be tied down to a schedule. Unless it's something that I'm really excited about, and it benefits me, and it's going to benefit you guys, then I'm interested in that. But like, if someone just sends me a random piece of gear to review, it's not. I don't want to be the product review channel. I don't want to be the camera only gear kind of stuff. And I think that's why I'm heavily vested and interested in this, because out of all the skills that I learned, out of all the technical skills that I learned, out of all the creative skills that I learned, out of all that stuff, which is fantastic, the thing that I'm most happy with and proud with is the business skills that I have developed secondary after all that other stuff that I learned that has actually made me happier in the long run. That has helped me achieve all the things that it get me to the place that actually elevated my status in the industry, because it's like, you know what, this guy knows what he's doing on this side, but it's like, you know, he's not joking around when it comes time to pay. Like, no, it's like I put my full effort into a project and I'll commit to it that until it's done and it's done right. But as long as I don't have to worry about the money that's tied to it, then I'm all here. But the moment I start questioning if the company is going to be paying me, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stop this because I can't focus on that until we deal with this. And, you know, I've had some harsh conversations, but mostly, like I'm saying 99% of the time, they're positive conversations. They're like, you know, can we just deal with the financial part of it and talk about the invoices, and just want to make sure that it gets paid. And 99% of the time they're like, oh my God, it hasn't been paid yet. And then like within that day it's paid. So I don't know if that's just their way of like, they're waiting for someone to talk about it, because they won't, just know the client won't offer you that speedy invoice. Say, okay, I'm going to send the invoice, and as soon as the invoice is done, and do bank transfers. Everybody can, all bigger companies can do bank transfers. Don't wait for a check, which would then take, you know, 2 weeks to get out to you because it's on the next billing cycle. And find out if they have those kind of billing cycles, if they do that kind of stuff. And if they can do a direct deposit, just send them your bank info. And just find out how to do your bank info transfers in your area, what everything you would need. So call your bank and do that now. Don't wait for a company to say, this is how we, you know, like, oh, we need your bank info. Just get your bank info now, have it stored, and then just be like, you can send me a check if you can't do a bank transfer, but bank transfers are preferred. And if you can get into that habit, just talk about money confidently. And what I mean by that is just talk about money. Don't wait for them to bring it up. Don't wait for the client to say like, okay, you send us the invoice and then we'll pay you. Most companies won't do that unless you start saying, okay, let's talk about the details. You know, I typically take X amount for an installment, and then we'll start the project, and then the rest can be done in installments down the line through these milestones that you establish. So those are the ways to really calm the anxiety of the freelancer world. Know that when it comes down to taking care of yourself, it is your responsibility. No one is coming to help you to solve that problem for you. You have to be the one that understands how to manage money, how to ask for the money, how to invest it, how to move the needle when it comes to your exit plan in this whole thing. If you're just starting, you have the greatest advantage in the history of everything. Understand, learn. You have all the creative skills, great, build them over time. Spend the next 6 months to help you figure out your exit plan from this thing when you are in the retirement age, which could be whatever you want. Like, don't buy that stupid expensive camera, not the stupid camera, but the stupid expensive camera. Rent those kind of cameras for projects as they come along. Try to buy things that are within a set budget. Like, and you can set that budget. Be like, okay, for 2022, the budget I have for all the gear spending that I will do is, what is that number? That is realistic. You know, because every month something new is coming out, and every month they want to pull from your pocket. So just set aside, like, I've already spent my budget for 2021. As much as I want to buy the new MacBook Pros M1 Max fully loaded Canadian, I think it works at the $7,000. Can I do it? Sure. Am I going to do it? No, because I've already spent my budget for this year on gear. And because 2020 rolled into 2021, that budget was slashed in half. So I have to hold myself accountable, because no one else is going to allow myself to introduce myself to myself. So yeah, that's really what it comes down to. Like, you have to be your own boss. You have to get into the habit of putting money away into an investment account, not into a savings account, because that's not going to matter, especially if hyperinflation kicks in. That $1,000 that you have in your emergency fund is going to be worth $800 in 2 years. So it's not going to go into like, make sure you put it into things that will be growth, and that falls onto you. That falls onto your understanding. Get financially literate this as soon as you can. Like, I would literally stop everything that you're doing learning wise, in terms of like, oh, this new plugin, this new app. Just, if you haven't taken the time to learn how to become financially literate, just stop everything else. Take it from someone that waited way too long because I was too excited about how to color grade the latest, footage, and it's just like that. Like that, you can learn, or you can learn at any time. But the sooner you can actually start putting money away, man, oh man. Like, there's so many financial people that I follow, that I've been following for the last 5 years, and like, I've kind of connected with a few of them, and I just said, like, dude, you guys are the friends I needed 20 years ago, because 20 years ago they were doing the thing that they're preaching now. And for me, I was like, okay, I'm going to learn cinematography. I'm going to learn how to edit better. And it's like all skills that are important and valuable. But if I had started doing the financial stuff back then, I would have had more free time to do that now and deep dive into that creative stuff. And I think one of the things I'm going to talk about next week specifically is that you don't need to become the best at everything. And there's value in knowing bits of everything, but there's two avenues, and you have to choose. So this is what we're going to talk about next week. You have to choose. Do you want to be the technical aspect person, the one that knows how to do it, like which settings to have that make the image perfect, or do you want to be the more visionary, conceptual person? Because think of it this way, where if you know how to direct, and you can see the image and what it needs to be to flow from one image to the next, and understand how to tell that compelling story, that is a different skill than the person that you would then hire to make it technically match from shot to shot to shot. So you have to choose, like, which path do you want to go, because both are crucial to the creative process. But trying to be the person that does everything, and I think this is where a lot of YouTubers kind of fall into that trap, where they feel they need to be the writer, the director, cinematographer, and we all fall into that place where it feels overwhelming when you realize that there's 12 jobs that you need to do just to be a solo YouTuber. But you don't need to be. You don't need to do that. You just need to know just well enough. Like, I like shooting log. I like doing that. But like, I've streamlined the process so well because I've surrounded myself by people that understand it, and I can pick their brain for those kind of things. And I'm trying to share with you those things because they're actually not on YouTube, a lot of the people that I pull a lot of this info from. But they've helped me understand it. And then I try to, and they don't use Final Cut. They don't use that. They use programs that aren't even available, or they're like $5,000 for the programs that they're using to do this kind of stuff or more. But then I try to translate it into, okay, how can I help in Final Cut? Speaking of which, if you guys haven't signed up for the waiting list, make sure there's a link in the description for the efficient editing in Final Cut Pro. It's a wait list. I'm trying to gauge interest for it. But yeah, because I want to essentially talk about everything that I know with Final Cut, and how, if you are the crew of one, how to streamline the entire process, where get to the creative part, get to the part that actually is building the story instead of trying to figure out the technicalities and the button pushing. Like, if you can get that out of the way. Let's see. Unless we're talking Apple and camera gear, then I can't shut up. Yeah, absolutely. That's I'm in the same boat where it's like I've kind of planted my flag. I'm the Mac guy. I'm Canon and iPhone. So everything else is, I would see there's pagans. The like Final Cut is my hill, my battle cry. Like I use Premiere Pro, I use DaVinci, and I can do tutorials on those all day long. But I prefer Final Cut overall. I prefer the iPhone. I prefer the Mac ecosystem. It's just I want to get past the technical parts and I want to get into the creative parts. So the more I have to think about how to run the system, the computer, it's not for me. I know how to drive a car. I don't want to be the one fixing it, if that makes sense. But the people that fix it, God bless them, because the cars wouldn't run properly without everybody doing what they love doing. So Bailey is saying, my family thinks that I'm insane for being able to talk about cameras and computer gear for hours and hours for something that I'm interested in. I love this stuff. I watch the Sony announcements. I watch the Google announcements. I watch the DJI announcements. I love that stuff. They're toys to me. That's toys. Like, those are my Lego pieces. The DJI Ronin 4D, fantastic looking toy. I would love to play with it. Will I buy it? Probably not. Will I rent it if the opportunity comes? Like, I do see it as a niche product, but it will have its place. I think a lot of people will find great uses with it. But yeah, it's one of those things where the whole channel is about something that I can't shut up about. And I'm glad that you are in that same place, because this is why I love this whole community. You know what? Speaking of anxiety, the conversations I have with you is something that actually reduces that anxiety within me. Having an outlet to talk with you, to talk about and get excited about these things that are out there that, you know, some of my friends that are more music based, they have no interest in this kind of stuff. But having this, like, you guys are those friends that are just, I know that I can just chat with and be like, did you see that thing? And that it's an outlet. It's the beer cave, the man cave, that's the way I see this whole YouTube channel, where we get to have those kind of conversations. And you are a huge part of that release, where it's like, you know, there's people that are like, I text like right away. It's like, did you see the blah, 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 blah? And it's like, I love having that, because it's not having that one best friend where you hope they're interested in the same thing. It's like having tons of best friends that are all at a party for that. It's like having a team. I don't know how to describe it better than a team. You guys are all for the same process. And so I love it. I find it's one of the things. And so let's briefly talk about how to mitigate that anxiety. Because when it does come up, like, I get so anxious when I know that the due date for an invoice is coming in and I haven't heard from the client, and I know that I have to reach out to them. Like, what do I do? Okay. First, just literally send that email, that follow-up email. Just be like, just want to remind you that this invoice due date is coming up. Let me know if we're gonna hit the deadline, right? And just talk to them. Or if you're on a call with them, you don't have to call them out. You don't have to get angry. So it's about actually following through. Like, how many times have you seen the phone ring? You're like, oh, I don't want to deal with this right now. But answering the phone and just dealing with it, making that payment, paying your bills, taking care of everything, and trying to catch up with that thing that you're uncomfortable with, and doing the thing that you're uncomfortable with. Talk to the client, reach out to the client, send that email, do those things that make you feel uncomfortable, because the more you do it, the more you will actually realize that it is not as stressful as you build it up in your head. I'm talking from my own personal experience where I know that I've been in situations where I've avoided or I prolonged reaching out to potential clients, or having that uncomfortable conversation about money with a client that isn't being responsive enough, and being okay to have those conversations, because the more I've done it, the more I've actually realized that it doesn't cause that much stress, and it actually relieves stress the moment you do it. It's building up that the anticipation is so much worse than the actual act of doing that thing. It's like skydiving. The only way I can kind of attribute it to is like the anticipation for people that skydive that first time is so overwhelming that when they do it, they have this rush and it's this release. And it does become a euphoria in a sense. So if you are anxious about something and you need to take care of something, taking care of it is the best action you can do to relieve that anxiety. And I don't know how to say that more clearly. Literally do the thing that is making you anxious to do. So if you need to reach out to someone, and I know it's not easy because I still do it, and my wife, God bless her, she's always there to like just do the thing that you're talking about. And it came down to even live streams and all this kind of stuff. Like there was this anxiety, this anticipation from doing it. But doing it relieves the anxiety. It's this weird backwards thing where the thing that you're anxious about will get relieved by doing the thing that you're anxious about. It will relieve that anxiety. So the more visual, been a pro photographer for 15 years, not a technical artist at all. I'm the same way. I that's why I like editing, because it's not about the technical, like everyone knows how to move stuff onto a timeline, put music and balance the audio a little bit. I struggle with getting the audio sounding right. I struggle with mixing it properly, and even color correcting. It's not my strength. But being able to craft a story and pull the meaning from it, like putting the right images after another when it comes to longer form content or for dramas or for something like that, that's where I really get the enjoyment. And then I'll pass it to a colorist, and then I'll pass it to the audio mixer and the sound design. I'll let them do it because they're so much better than I am at that portion of it. Do I understand it? Can I communicate with them? Yes. Can I do it as well as them? No. So yeah, it's not about being technical, because people that are able to be technical, and I know that there's this fine line where you can be really good creative and you can be really good technically as well. But there are people that are like, because your mind is split into two, there are going to be people that are much more creative because they're not technical. But then there's going to be people that are way more technical and they're technically accurate, and they can look at a scope and go like, yep, I know exactly the problem. This is how you fix it. And you're just kind of looking like, what the hell did you do? Like, but you made it look fantastic. So it's like understanding how to communicate with this side or with that side is crucial to gaining their confidence. So Bailey, as someone who has hired 2 employees, myself and someone else, in my production crew, it is really, sorry, blocking that, is really do basically everything. And then my second guy is a PA, AC, AD, all the assistants. Yeah, that's you're going to add stress to yourself. Yeah. But the thing is, as you grow that company, as you do that, start adding people in to help do those things. And that's where you need to go. Like, there is a huge hustle that happens at the beginning. No one can just start in and hire everybody at once. But you have to take on projects that don't extend and don't push the boundaries of what you're capable of, because not only will the project suffer, and if the project doesn't suffer, your health and your mental state will, because you'll add pressure on. It's not sustainable for the long run. So just make sure that you do have that goal to hire assistants, to hire bigger production crews. Like even watching Peter's behind the scene of that music video that he did, it's like it looked like it was him and the band, and I think he had one guy to shoot behind the scenes. And it's like I remember speaking with him earlier that like, dude, you need to bring more people to help you with that. Like that adds so much stress. I know that the band took care of their equipment, but like once you're doing that kind of stuff, like you need to having help to be like, okay, move the light here, do that. Like you need to do that so you can just focus in on what you're actually working on. So since you also write and make movies, it means that I have to be directing and everything too. Normally I hire someone else for a week or two, but that we're filming. Yes, like those little things, they actually do help out and they do make the entire process more enjoyable. And it's just about building on top of that. And doing the directing and the writing, like you have that vision. So you need to bring on the people that are technically skilled to elevate that project, collaborate. Just like Mark Bowen kind of talked about, like collaborating, you're going to be able to take your visions that much further, because if you get people that work on things that are much better than you, that's where the magic actually starts happening. Like all the best stuff that I've ever worked on has been with large teams. Yes, the budgets were bigger, but that's the best kind of stuff that you have out there. So if you have a small team, just know that the project will reflect that. Like no one can make a Hobbit or Transformers or something like that by themselves. I know that there's many people on YouTube that try to do those kind of things, and like they have like even Corridor Crew. They have huge teams working on those things, and they can take a long time to do it, and they're really skilled at what they do. So had the possibility to get last week, price ourselves a level we thought were worth. Had anxiety for sending out the price. Had anxiety for sending out the price, as we knew there were other company also giving their price. And unfortunately, we lost the job, which is not a bad thing. If you can get into the habit of sending out that price with the price that you're comfortable with, then you just keep going. Keep doing that, because there will be a time where people say yes, and you'll be able to do the project without being stressed about it. Because even if you came in at half, then you would be doing this project that is that much stressful for you to work on. And so is it worth it at that point? Is it worth it? Like, especially if it's something that, was that project that valuable for you as like a resume piece than the actual worth of it? That's where you have to ask yourself. I don't think so. I think that pricing yourself accordingly is the best way to go about it. Get in the habit of doing that right from the beginning. What is your expectations for coming budget full frame 2022? Budget full frame. I think they're going to replace the Canon R with a replacement, but I think the R6 is the Canon R replacement at this point. I don't think we'll see another R, just standalone R. I think next year they're going to release the Canon R1. They may do a Canon R6 Mark II in like October of next year. But I think the first half of the year is going to be a little bit more cinema camera based around NAB. That's my feeling. But I don't know. We'll see. I think the point of Peter's video was to highlight the Ronin 4D, because that was DJI's marketing. We don't need a film crew. You only need one person. Yes and no. If you watch the behind the scenes, and because he was this was pre-surgery, so I don't even think he knew about what was happening with him. It took a lot of effort out of him. And the shoot was probably longer than it needed to be. and it was probably a bit more stressful. So I don't know if they paid him for that or if they just paid him with the camera and that was the exchange. But I think that like it turned out fantastic. I think it looked fantastic and the camera looks great. But that's not a shoot that I would have done without at least 2 other people. I would have wanted to have a focus puller on that using the handheld thing. I definitely would have wanted someone that is doing the media management, transferring the footage. I would want someone that would be handling the lights. So that's where I would have kind of gone with it. But again, like there's no harm in trying it, but doing that consistently, being a crew of 1. As a YouTube channel, like I don't know. It's making me anxious. Anyways, yeah, I just wanted to have this chat about making sure you set yourself up for that success, and knowing that this anxiety probably does not go away. If you guys know how it goes away, or if you guys have found a way to get it out of your system, let me know, because I do all the things that I can. I listen to music, I watch comedies, I try to take breaks, I work out, I exercise, I eat right. So definitely keeping the chemicals in the brain balanced helps out with the whole keeping the anxiety down. But if you are struggling with any kind of anxiety that you aren't able to mitigate, definitely search out help. Definitely find people that you can talk to that professionally can help you out. I would avoid having drugs, just knowing that you can, knowing that you need to balance yourself out is probably going to be a lot longer term than popping a pill. But again, I can't give you that advice. But yeah, make sure you guys keep yourselves healthy, eat well, sleep as much as you can, keep grinding, keep going, do the things that make you uncomfortable. And 20 years from now, you guys are going to be talking about how that feeling doesn't go away, but you're able to kind of live with it, I guess. Maybe yeah, I'm not a professional, so I don't know. I know that I am living with that anxiety, and it comes up and it creeps up all the time. But then when I look around, I love where my life is, and it's taken time to get there, to balance everything out. And there have been plenty of restarts along the way. But with all that being said, guys, I just want to say thank you for hanging out with me today. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. I hope I get to talk with you more often. And yeah, let's chat next week. Let's have another man cave powwow session, and we'll talk about some fun stuff next week. And you're going to be young. You're going to be younger than I in 20 years. But yeah, I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Happy Halloween to everyone that is celebrating it. Otherwise, have a great weekend. I'll talk to you guys next week. All right. Bye for now, guys.